It is 4 o'clock. I'll call this meeting to order. Please stand to sing O Canada. Please be seated. We'll start with the roll call.
Mayor Sue Patterson,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Warren Dickert,
Present.
Councillor Harold Fleet,
Present.
Councillor Dave Hawking,
Present.
Councillor Carol Hudson,
Present.
Councillor Brandon Cable,
Present.
Councillor Susan Sackle.
Present.
Thank you, Vicky. All members are present and accounted for. The land acknowledgement. As we work toward reconciliation with Indigenous people, we begin our meeting today by respectfully acknowledging that we are situated on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe Nation, the people of Three Fires known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, and further give thanks to the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash, now known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, as the traditional keepers of this land. So welcome to our regular council meeting for Monday, January 13th, 2025. Good afternoon, council, staff, guests, the viewing public, and the media. Council, does anyone have a disclosure of pecuniary interest or a conflict of interest? Of course, if one should arise during the meeting, you may declare it then. Item 5 on the agenda is additions or deletions, and we do not have any. Item 6 is our health and safety message. And I do want to say the message demonstrates the town's commitment to safety, to staff and our residents. It is intended to raise awareness of potential risks, promote safe practices, and help prevent injuries, illnesses, and fatalities. Our message is brought to us by Councillor Hawking.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good afternoon, everyone. Staying active in the winter. It can be difficult to get motivated during the winter season, but staying active in the winter indoors and out will help you to get through the winter months. Following is a list of tips for staying active during the winter season. Number 1, explore new outdoor activities such as cross-country, skiing, and snowshoeing. Dress in layers to provide the most effective way to stay warm and dry. When returning to the indoors, give your body time to adjust by waiting a few minutes before removing your extra layers. It is just as important to stay hydrated in the winter as in the summer, even though you may not feel as thirsty. Walk in an indoor location like the walking track at the P&H Center. Sign up for activities at your local community center or other venues. Climb up and down stairs even for a short time to provide an effective workout. And finally, a reminder, please take your iPhone with you when you are doing outdoor activities in case of a fall. You may need help. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. All right, item 7, we do not have any delegations. Item 8, business arising from the minutes. We have a notice of motion from Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Your Worship. Considering that we have a closed meeting item related to Launchpad this evening, I'd like to move to postpone the notice of motion to immediately following the in-camera session at today's council meeting.
Is there a seconder? Deputy Mayor Dickert? All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Those opposed? 2, 3. That motion carries. All right, so moving on, item 9 is council and committee of the whole minutes. 9.1 is our regular council meeting minutes from December 16th. I need a mover and seconder to put that on the floor. Councillor Fleet and Councillor Sacco. And I just have 2 highlights, I believe. We confirmed a 3-year agreement with New Breed Sporting for the purpose of operating a sporting goods and apparel retail operation within the P&H Center auxiliary room. Looking forward to seeing that. And also confirmed a 1-year agreement with the Hanover Family Health Team for the purpose of providing group exercise and education programming for Hanover Family Health Team patients within the P&H Center classroom. We also approved pre-budget approval for the splash pad and committee Center of Excellence projects. So we entered into an agreement with Yard Weasels Incorporated for the design, supply, and installation of a splash pad, washroom upgrades, and park and hat enhancements. Any questions or comments with those minutes? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Item 9.2 is our special council meeting minutes. I need a mover and seconder to highlight those. Councillor Cable and Councillor Hudson. And you'll remember that meeting was for our budget for the 2025 budget in the amount of $9,801,000, which was approved. All in favor? That is carried. Item 10 is staff reports. So 10.1 is report PRC 0125. The subject is Family Day, which is Monday, February 17th. The report is from Laura Kristen, our Director of Parks, Recreation and Culture, and our CAO, Sherry, is going to highlight the report. Sherry, oh, I need a mover and seconder. Councillor Hocking and Deputy Mayor Dickert. Sherry.
Thank you, Your Worship. Laura Sensory regrets she is not feeling her best today, so I'm going to pinch hit, you might say. So Family Day is a longstanding tradition for our community to host a day of events and activities for our community and those who visit our community on Family Day. So that will be held on Monday, February 17th from 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. at the P&H Center. All of the activities are no charge, and they include free swimming and skating, face painting, balloon animals, and a range of family-friendly games. And those are staples for our Family Day activities. New this year, though, is a craft corner in partnership with the library, as well as a meet and greet with Bluey, a popular children's character. And I'm a little bit out of touch with the cartoons these days, but I can appreciate from the Dora days and the Franklin days that must be the going trend for the characters, as well as a 360-degree video photo booth. I'm kind of interested in that. It'd be neat to see council in that photo booth, actually, and 160-degree photo for that. But anyways, so a neat activity for families as well. And then, of course, we have Mayor Patterson and members of council hosting a free family-style bingo from 1 to 2 p.m. in the Lions Den. A Family Day would not be possible unless we had the generous support of our sponsors, and Edgewell Personal Care has been a long-standing. In fact, I think they've been, since Family Day started, they've been a sponsor of our swim and skate. And then we also have the Match and H&R Block, whose contributions are helping to make the event possible. I would expect that you're going to see as residents promotion soon in regards to Family Day, but it certainly is a day to put in your calendar. And those residents who perhaps are listening listening could in fact click on the council agenda, and there's a great poster there to show the activities and events accordingly. So the expenses for this event are covered through the sponsorship, and the family bingo is covered through the council budget, and then any staff and facility related costs are approved within our 2025 operational budget. This really is an information report, so is provided for council's information, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you maybe have.
Thanks, Sherry, and that's my error. We didn't need a mover and seconder because it is an information report, so we're just not going to vote on that. But I do want to say, I like that poster. It's very easy to read, so it should be a fun day. Any comments, questions for Sherry? Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Just, it looks like a great day, and I can tell you that a 2-year-old is very excited about Bluey coming to be able to meet with Bluey and enjoy that activity. So thank you.
Gonna have to read up on Bluey. Okay, so that was for information. Item 10.2, I do need a mover and seconder, and this is the annual health and safety policy statement and work plan. The report is HR 0125, and it's from Melissa Hilgendorf, our Human Resources Manager. Councillor Sackel and Councillor Hawking. Melissa?
Right, thank you, Your Worship. So every year we bring this policy and work program forward to council. As under the Occupational Health and Safety Act, it's something we need to do every year, is to review our annual policy statement for health and safety, as well as make sure that we have a program in place to implement that policy. So our Health and Safety Committee has reviewed our annual policy statement as well as the work plan. At this time, the committee is not proposing any revisions to the policy statement, but more to renew it for 2025. As for the work plan, it does include some housekeeping amendments and updated objectives that would guide the committee's work throughout 2025. Key initiatives include the maintenance of our existing health and safety program, continuation of the development of a hearing conservation program, and an update to our confined space program. And any revisions are noted within your agenda package in red font or strike through. Costs associated with the 2025 health and safety work plan objectives were included within the 2025 approved budget. That was $2,000 for baseline hearing tests for existing staff. And future costs may include testing for new hires as they come on board, and we're estimating that to be around $30. And then again for periodic testing, which is likely to occur every 3 to 5 years. The implementation of this program is a protective measure that does help mitigate against WSIB claim costs. The report supports strategic goal number 1, safe and reliable infrastructure, as well as goal number 5, open and responsible government. And the recommendation is that report HR 0125, annual health and safety policy statement and work plan be received, and that council approve the 2025 health and safety policy statement and 2025 health and safety work plan for implementation in the town's policy manual. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Melissa. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Item 10.3 is report HR 0225. The subject is the annual workplace violence and harassment policy statement. It's from Melissa again, our human resource manager, and I need a mover and seconder. I'll take Councillor Fleet and Deputy Mayor Dickert. Melissa?
Great, thank you again. So very similar to the health and safety policy statement, every year we bring forth the workplace violence and harassment policy statement for review, as well as give an overview on our program as a whole to make sure that we have a mechanism to implement the policy. So once again, the committee, Joint Health and Safety Committee, has reviewed the policy statement. They are proposing some minor amendments to the policy statement for 2025, noted in red text within your agenda package. The agenda package also includes a number of supplementary documents that work together with the policy statement to form our entire workplace violence and harassment program. So within that, you may notice that there are some suggested revisions also to our guideline. The key update is to amend the definition of workplace in accordance with updates to the Occupational Health and Safety Act, where the workplace now includes telework or virtual locations. And otherwise, there are some housekeeping revisions and an update to the guideline that includes provisions for workplace investigations that will occur more dependent on specific circumstances that might include the complexity of the investigation or who arranges and facilitates that investigation. So that may be an investigation that is facilitated by myself as the HR manager, perhaps an external party, or heaven forbid it ever was accused that myself as the HR manager was the perpetrator, that another party would facilitate that, very likely the CAO or designate. There are no financial implications associated with this report, but it does support strategic direction number 5, open and responsible government. The recommendation is that report HR 0225, annual workplace violence and harassment policy statement, be received, and that council approve the 2025 workplace violence and harassment policy statement for implementation in the town's policy manual.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Thanks, Melissa. Item 10.4 is report DCS 0125. The subject is the 2024 budget amendments, and it's from Chris Walker, our Director of Corporate Services and Treasurer. And I need a mover and seconder before Chris starts. Councillor Cable and Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Throughout 2024, we've had some adjustments to the budgets as a result of projects not being fully expended, changes from the budget amounts or deferrals. We have gone through all our council and committee of the whole meetings throughout the year and pulled out what we actually know 100% that council approved, et cetera. However, there will be some throughout the year that we're not going to capture in this. And that's why we have at the end saying in other objects that may occur during that. So after I've written this report, there was one, cemetery reserves was not being used because the cemetery software is not available now until early February. So that was in the budget for 2024 and it was to come from reserves. So it's staying in reserves and et cetera. So that one's not on this, but again, that's one of those additional ones that have been added. So if you want me to go through each individual one, I can do that real quick. For operations, we had a server room air conditioner added for 13.5 and that expense was going to be covered in our regular maintenance budget, so others would not be getting done with that. And then we had that curling club grant where we were paying for 50% of the appraisal. As for capital, we had that apparatus vehicle. That's a 3-year multi-year project, and we didn't budget for the expense of interest of $7,600 for that year, for this year, so that was added. And then the Civic Center, we talked about a makeup air unit, the one that's above my office, how it was going to be paid for. 2nd Street East, we had some savings there, but those savings were being used for other projects throughout the year. We had the development charges, asset management consultant fees was to come the additional amount from general reserves. We had construction on 21st Ave where we needed additional $19,500. 3rd Street, we needed another $172,500, of which the savings from 2nd Street East was being used. And then we were using general reserves required, as well as water exceeded the budget and they were going to add those in as well. The SCADA didn't require the full amount. So there's about $450,000 that's going towards in 2025. We also had an approval from council regarding police services buildings, so it has a future budget implications that are in there. Fire hall construction, we were approved for some grants. However, those grants do not immediately come into money. So in the interim, we went through Ontario Infrastructure for $5.8 million to cover that. So right now that was effective October 1st and mid-December, we finally got all the money. So $5.8 million is sitting right now as a temporary loan. Splash pad, council agreed to move forward with that with a request for proposals. So you are committing to a future budget and it wasn't approved at the time when this was being passed. The new columbarium and garden base, well, the money that was to be used for that full project hasn't come to fruition. The new columbarium is not coming in till early spring or late winter, whichever you want to call it, February, March. So those monies will stay in there. Then the seventh water tower, no construction actually occurred this year. It was just all design. So the money that was earmarked for that from reserve funds stays in there until it's required, 2025. The water high lift pumps did not occur, so that money will go to water reserves. It was earmarked from water user fees, so those monies will just get transferred. Same with the wastewater plant, EA, the upgrades and interim plant upgrades. There was money that was not being used because a lot of it was designed this year, so a lot of it will be done in 2025. The industrial and sanitary servicing, again, the money was to come from the sewer reserves, didn't require it all, so that money will stay there until it's required the following year. We had additional expenses incurred in 2020. From 2023, you'll remember the Olympia didn't get done till early January. Playground equipment didn't get inputted until, so last year we put that money to reserves, it's coming out. Just so you know, there's been changes because that wasn't included in the 2024 budget. And as I mentioned, there's many capital projects that were not completed for various reasons. We haven't not received all the invoices yet. So any unexpended funds that have been raised through either taxation, reserves, or grants, the actual year and unexpended funds for those projects will be transferred back to the respective reserves and reserve funds so they can be used in 2025. This is just a report to kind of gather that all together. Like I said, the stuff that we know of that actually was passed at council meetings is definitely in there. There are other stuff that keeps coming up as the year end gets done. And the link to strategic plan is all 5 because it all has to do with our budget. So what we're looking for is that the report DCS 0125, which is the 2024 budget amendments, transfers to and from reserves and reserve funds be received. And the council approved the 2024 budget amendments and transfers to and from reserves and reserve funds as presented.
Thanks, Chris. Any questions? That's a good report. It's nice to see that all in one. So I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Item 10.5 is report DCS 0225. The subject is the annual liability and property insurance renewal for 2025. Again, it's from Chris Walker, our Director of Corporate Services and Treasurer, and I need a mover and seconder to put this on the floor. Deputy Mayor Dickert and Councillor Hawking.
Thank you, Your Worship. Each year we review the municipal insurance policy and we speak with our brokers, Craig McDonald Redden, CMR, to go through and see if there's anything that's required that needs to go out for market. A request proposal was done in 2021 to ensure that we were receiving the best. And at that time, we received 2 quotes out of the whole time. And the other entry was 150,000 more than the previous one. And it was a minimum 50,000 deductible for every liability, every auto claim, everything that was required. So it's basically you were self-insuring yourself for a lot of money at that time. So we stayed with Intact. And that's where we continue to be because they give us the best pricing for a municipality. And they also provide us with a lot of different programs, webinars for risk management, how to do different things, how to keep the municipality well insured and covered for all any risks that may happen. They give us documentation and stuff to take care of all that stuff so that we make sure that we're doing that. We do complete incident and accident reports on everything that ever happens, so trip falls, everything to do with vehicles. You can talk to HR, they've got a whole pile of them, and you can talk to Jen, she's got a lot on the insurance end as well. Our past experience and claim history with Intact and CMR has been good. In the past 10 years, we've had a total of 48 claims, with 17 of these as licensed fleet claims. Intact provides a municipality, as I said, with many value-added services. CMR has been able to go out, they go out every year for our volunteer firemen's insurance services coverage, drone insurance coverage, cyber liability insurance. Cyber liability was limited this year. We basically had one company that would even quote on it. A lot of them are pulling back on the cyber. And there's a lot of companies that don't want to do municipalities because we're always named in a claim. So they went out to market to get these lower prices for us. The proposed annual renewal program costs represent a 5.3% increase from the overall 2024 premium. Since our loss ratio for 2024 has been reducing, we were able to reduce the increase further over last year. Last year was 9.3. The average was around 15, between 10 to 15%. This year, the average is around 6. And like I said, we're coming in at 5.3. And this is us doing everything we possibly can to keep everything down. But as you know, climate change is hitting all liabilities and insurances premiums are going up, whether you're really good or not on your claims. The loss ratio, we're doing much better. We've provided some history there. As long as we stay within the 55% ratio, our claims, our premiums will stay within the threshold of average increases. Still increases, but average increases. I always think of it as I buy that new fridge to give me that reduced energy consumption. And you see that, but you don't see it on the bottom line because prices have gone up anyways on it. But you do see it. If you didn't do it, your prices would go up much higher at that point. So this is the third year in a row that our claims ratio has been below the loss ratio, with the exception of our fleet, because we had 17 claims on fleets. That's really costing a lot. Basically, anytime you put a claim in, whether it's your fault or not, you're basically getting hit on the premium on our end. And there's nothing I personally can do about it or any of us can do about that. That's just the way of the business. So in this chart, we've provided you information what it was on the expiring premium. Expiring premium means we started off with a certain amount, but then if you add new equipment or you take away other equipment or you add new fleet, insurance prices go up throughout the year. So that's what the expiring premium means at the end of 2024. This is what we totally paid in 2024 for that. So we have a 4.9% on that liability. That's the big end. The equipment breakdown has really gone up. But again, 12.9% or $1,200. Again, don't look at percentages, look at the actual dollar figure amount. Firefighters accident has gone up 8.3, again, $410. And the drone coverage actually went down $26. So overall, oh, we also have the cyber liability, again, gone up high. It's the only quote we could get, and it's up 32%, but 32% is equal to $3,300, again, relative to the numbers. Overall, we have a 5.3% or $41,000. The financial implication is that the proposed liability is going to be $775,626 for 25, and it includes deductibles of $15,000 for liability, cyber, and sewer backup, $10,000 for automobile at fault, if we're at fault. If it's not at fault, we don't have that deductible. Errors and emissions, environmental liability, and property, $5,000 for automobile data. Automobile is outside non-owned automobiles. Data Pro Safe Fine Arts and wrongful dismissal, and 500 for non-owned automobile. My mistake on the 5,000 there. So in order to see some savings, we could increase our deductibles from the current amounts that we've shown there. So I've given you a chart there showing the liability. If you go to 20,000 deductible or 25,000 deductible, you could save between $4,400 to $8,800 in premium a year. Keeping in mind that one claim is another $5,000 deductible for us if you increase that, or 10,000 deductible. So you basically would not make any savings on the premium the minute you have one claim. Then we have the automobile, changing from 10 to 15, 20, 25. Errors, emissions, I've given you all there, and I've highlighted them in colors so that you'll notice that if we changed all the deductibles to 15,000 across the board, we would have savings of about $4,163. Again, first time you have a deductible, another 5,000 gets added. So the premium you just saved, you have to come up with somewhere else. If they were all 20,000, you would save 12,359. Again, it's either 5,000 or 10,000, depending which one we're talking about, automobile errors or we're talking property, 15 versus the 10 on there. And then if all deductibles were 25,000, we could save 19,372. Keep in mind that we always use money from our insurance reserves to cover our portion of the deductible. If we don't have enough in there, then it's going to hit your operations budget the year it actually occurs. That's the purpose of having the insurance reserve. Right now, we put aside 20,000 a year. We have maintained that over the past 20 years. We've experienced almost 133,300 in deductibles since 2020 to 2024, and have been able to use our insurance reserve to cover that. Did not affect our operations budget at all. As of 2024, we've only incurred $400, so our claims are awesome for 2024, which means the 20,000 that we put in reserves in 2024 actually is staying there. So now our balance is around 45,400. So it's great when you don't have to use it, but when you do have to use it, it comes down fast. First 15,000, right away we're down to 30,000. Then we only have 2 claims left and we have nothing, right? Our bad years were 2018 to 2021. It's like a 3-year, we got hit with a lot of claims, liability and auto. So the link to strategic plan is goal number 5, open and responsible government. And The recommendation is that this report DCS 0225 Annual Liability and Property Insurance Renewal 2025 be received by council. The council agrees to the comprehensive insurance program effective January 1st to December 31st, 2025, as prepared by Intact Public Entities at a cost of $775,626, plus the following separate coverages for the equipment breakdown policy at a cost of $10,571, firefighters accident insurance for $53.25, drone insurance coverage for $33.50, cyber liability insurance for $13,650, for a total annual cost of $808,522 plus applicable taxes. And that council agrees to continue to set aside $20,000 annually for insurance deductibles. And if any questions?
Thanks, Chris. Any discussion? Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you to the staff that supplied the question or the answers to the questions I had submitted earlier today. I think for the viewing public and so on, I think it would be good to share some of that. And my questions were around the RFP process, and we haven't done it since 2021, but it was well explained that there's reasons for that. It's a hard market, as I hear, and there's not a lot of options available. And our broker does go out on a regular basis to check for better rates for anything that we are purchasing in there. So thank you for that. The other question I had was about the claims history on vehicle incidents and what was being done to address, with staff trying to lessen the number of incidents, and certainly sounds like there are programs in place. There's driver training, support options that are out there to work on that. So again, thank you for clarifying that and answering that question. The only other one I wanted to comment on was the increasing deductible. And when I looked at those statistics, and Chris, you certainly hit it on the nail on the head. All it takes is one claim, and you really wipe out any savings you have by increasing that deductible. So I would suggest that we stay at the same that we're at with the deductible. And again, thank you for the answers that I got earlier today on the insurance questions.
Anyone else? Chris, go ahead.
The only upside to reducing your deductible is that you would increase that amount to your insurance reserve, but then again, you're still paying the same amount of money, so you're really not saving in the long run, and then it's your money on the line.
Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you, Chris. Just a question. Our vehicles, are they equipped with GPS or dash cams? Like, would there be any savings if all our fleet or all our equipment was covered with that type of advice to, I guess, legally, I guess if there's an accident, you have that proof of, whatever's happened with the dash cam or GPS.
Through you, Your Worship, we have an opportunity with these new leased vehicles to automatically put in. It's called GeoTab, and you just punch it, put it in there. You don't have to have cameras or not. I know the fire department would like to have those. The only ones right now that we have are for Ron's vehicles, and it would be the winter ones, so they can prove that they've put in salt when they plowed. It puts the times, and on the sidewalk machines. Those are the only ones at this time that have that information. But we are looking to others. We have some quotes. It's going to cost a bit of money to get them put in. So there are some departments that don't really want to have the camera in there because the person driving doesn't feel comfortable having that there, whereas fire wants that. But you can have just a plug-in, and it will say how fast you're going, what you're doing, where you've gone, when you hit something, when you went over, all that. We are looking into that. It's called telematics, and it's a little bit of intricacies right now that we're looking at.
Would there be any savings to our insurance if our fleet was equipped with
We
it?
asked that in the past and said, no, it just would to keep your claims down. So then keeping your claims down would keep your premium down. But just by putting them in, it's not going to make it easier. Not like when you say you put that plug in your own personal vehicle and say, oh, we'll give you a 30% savings. It doesn't happen like that.
Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Your Worship. Chris, would those be transferable devices? Since we're on a lease program now, would you be able to take it out of one vehicle and then move it to the next?
Yes, all the new vehicles have a certain area where you can plug these tabs in and you can just pull them out. It's basically $100 for each one. And then you have to, if you're recording and whatnot, you have to pay a monthly fee through the Wi-Fi or the internet that you're using on that.
Excellent. Thank you.
So when you have more information, we will have more information, right?
Right, we've been receiving information on and off, and we're trying to put it together. We received some information. I think Deputy Mayor Dickert went to a Juga or a place from the United States that was at a session, so we had some information on them, but there were American prices. By the time you converted over, it was a lot more expensive. So we were working with our leasing partners and who they use and what kind of a deal we can get through the LAS, which would be, all the geotabs would be free, but you would have to pay the monthly costs. But again, we're trying to do the pricing on that. And it's just not a priority on my desk at the moment. It's sitting there.
Right. Okay, I don't see any other hands raised, so all in favor of DCS 0225. That is carried. Item 10.6 is report CL 0125. The subject is the 2026 municipal election voting method. It's from our clerk, Vicky McDonald, and I need a mover and seconder to put this on the floor. I have Councillor Cable and Councillor Sacco. Vicky?
Thank you, Your Worship. The Municipal Election Act governs municipal and school board elections. Elections are held every 4 years, with the next one coming up on Monday, October the 26th of 2026. The Municipal Elections Act also requires an accessibility report be completed by the clerk that details how accessibility requirements were met through the identification, removal, and prevention of barriers to voting. So although the 2026 election date may seem far away, there are a number of tasks that need to be started in preparation for the election, in particular, a decision on the method of voting. In 2022, the decision was made to utilize internet and telephone voting for the election, and this was made in the fall of 2021. Many election service providers, however, were already at or near client capacity. Therefore, staff are being proactive in seeking determination of the voting method for 2026 now. Ensuring that the municipal and school board election is open and accessible to all members of the community continues to be an important priority. It is also with this in mind that staff are focusing on the accuracy of the voters list for the 2026 election. With Elections Ontario now managing the voters list, it is anticipated that there will be fewer discrepancies in elector information. Specific steps were taken in 2022 to retain information from the most affected areas, that being some senior residential units within the community. And the intent is preventing a recurrence of these problems that were experienced with the voters list at that time. In terms of public information, there will be an awareness campaign aimed at ensuring electors are registered to vote and detailing how they can get on the voters list. Similar to 2022, there will be help centers established at the municipal office and potentially the library as well that can help voters get on the list and cast their vote if we opt to go for internet and telephone voting. So as noted in the report, there are a number of principles contained in the Municipal Elections Act, which focus on conducting a fair, open, and accessible election. It was with these principles in mind that the voting methods most appropriate were determined or set forth for consideration, those being internet and telephone voting, vote by mail, or a hybrid option of internet voting along with vote by mail. There were a number of details contained in the report with respect to the methodology and the process of voting. So I'm not going to go into the details of each of those particular methods. I will cover some of the benefits, however, in terms of each of the voting methods proposed. Internet and telephone voting. There are a number of benefits in terms of accessibility with internet and telephone voting, as electors can utilize their own personal devices to vote with independence and dignity from basically anywhere. They don't need to attend a voting location or find a means to get to a mailbox to return a vote by mail ballot. Internet and telephone voting also offers convenience and flexibility with a longer voting period. It eliminates the need for proxy voting, is more economical, and provides timelier results. In 2022, Besides the municipal office, as I've said, a help center was located in the library to provide assistance to electors. I would also like to share at this time that those individuals that use the help center to vote, or those that voted in the retirement centers or long-term care centers, commented that it was actually an easy and fast method for them to vote, which I found was interesting. They were quite amenable to using the tablet to cast their ballot. There are drawbacks to this voting method potentially. If an individual does not have access to a computer or smartphone or other similar electronic device, there could also be potential concerns individuals may have or perceive with security and privacy. Part of the help center option is to provide electors with those electronic devices that they can cast their ballot should they not have access otherwise to one of the to the technology to do so. With the vote by mail option, it also, in terms of benefits, offers convenience and flexibility, maybe not to the same extent as internet and telephone voting, but there's still the option to vote in the privacy at your own time in your own home. There is, however, a guaranteed return mail date that the declaration and ballot must be mailed by in order to be received in time to be counted. And that could perhaps hinder the accessibility of this option. Another benefit is the vote by mail removes the need for proxy voting. And as I mentioned, allows electors to complete the ballot in the privacy of their home. With the vote by mail, in terms of drawbacks, there is a greater potential for rejected ballots if they're not marked properly, or if the declaration is not included when returned by mail, or if the mail is not received in time for the individual to have their ballot counted. The third option is hybrid. That would be a combination of internet voting and vote by mail. It would capture all accessibility needs of our electors. However, it is also more complicated to administer, as we would essentially be running two different voting systems, thereby being less efficient and costlier, as we would need to involve platforms for both the internet and vote by mail. In summary, research is showing that the use of technology continues to grow. And I think this has been evidenced beginning with COVID, that more and more people were moving to online methods of communicating, of receiving bills and making payments. This has also been witnessed by Hanover staff in terms of our own billing system and payment methods. Alternative voting methods such as internet and telephone voting are the least expensive and most consumer service-oriented method for the elector. A paper ballot election or hybrid election is the most expensive option and to several logistical challenges, as I noted, with running two different voting platforms. Given the superior convenience and accessibility, financial considerations and constraints on staff capacity, the support for climate change initiatives as an internet and telephone voting method doesn't require as much paper use. The difficulty in recruiting skilled election workers and the positive experience in the 2018 and 2022 elections, staff is recommending that council adopt internet and telephone voting again for the 2026 election. The financial implications, a preliminary cost summary was provided based on quotes received from two Canadian-based companies. And the total estimate for vote by mail came to approximately $54,000. Internet and telephone voting, the cost was almost $29,000. And it should be noted that Postage went up today as well. So that's another consideration. The link to the strategic plan is open and responsible government. And the recommendation is that report CLO 125, 2026 municipal election voting method be received. That council direct staff to bring forward a bylaw to authorize internet and telephone voting as the voting method for the 2026 municipal and school board election. And that staff be directed to proceed with engaging an election service vendor. And I would welcome any questions that council may have.
Thanks, Vicky. Discussion? Okay. I have a question.
Yeah.
So if someone in town moves or someone moves into town and say they're coming from Newmarket and they voted in Newmarket, now they're going to vote in Hanover. It's their responsibility to make sure they're on the voters list.
That is correct. And part of our public awareness campaign will be to let individuals know that they need to check to make sure they're on the voters list for the town of Hanover and school board elections. There will be a link on our website so that they can go to Elections Ontario and add themselves to the voters list, or let them know how they can come into the office and get registered to vote. But yes, it is the responsibility of the resident or property owner to add themselves to the list.
Thank you, because we would have no idea who's moving in and who's moving out. And we don't have any idea when there's a new voter, someone who just is first time voting. So it's the communication plan that's really important. Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Your Worship. So Vicky, if I'm understanding correctly, assuming that we end up with a federal election or a provincial election in 2025, then any updates to the voter list that are made through those elections would then transfer over to our municipal election?
That is correct. Now that Elections Ontario is looking after compiling our voters list, they receive data from a number of different sources, including if they're doing an enumeration for the if we're going to have provincial election soon, all that information will be compiled and congregated into the voters list for the town of Hanover. So every elector at that time that is registered with the province will reflect in the town of Hanover voter list.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, I'll call the question, and this is to authorize internet and telephone voting for the voting method of our 2026 municipal and school board election. All in favor? That is carried. Thanks, Vicky. The next report is yours also. 10.7, this is report CL 0225. The subject is the appointment to the Hanover Public Library Board. It's from Vicky, our clerk. I need a mover and seconder. Councillor Hocking and Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship. The procedure bylaw under section 16.1 establishes a process for the appointment of members to municipal boards and committees, and states that all council appointments to various boards, committees, special bodies, and other statutory positions shall be made at the required time by resolution of council, except where it is specifically required by bylaw. Appointments to committees of council and local boards may be amended from time to time as needed and upon recommendation of the mayor. It is thus recommended that Mayor Patterson be appointed as the council representative of the Hanover Public Library Board for the remainder of the current term of council. There are no financial implications with this report. The link to the strategic plan is open and responsible government. The recommendation is that report CL 0225 appointment to Hanover Public Library Board be received, and that council approve the appointment of Mayor Patterson as the council representative on the Hanover Public Library Board for the remainder of the 2022 to 2026 council term.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Item 11 is committees of council minutes, and we have one set of minutes with two subcommittee minutes. So I need a mover and seconder. before those are highlighted. Councillor Hudson and Deputy Mayor Dickert. Thank you. So the first one is 11.1. This is the Economic Tourism and Cultural Development Advisory Committee minutes. Councillor Sacco.
Thank you, Your Worship. For our final meeting of the year, we met at the Saugeen Municipal Airport on Wednesday, December the 18th. And April Marshall presented a year-end review and noted the progress made on our Economic Tourism and Cultural Development Strategic Plan. Under Priority 1, which was growth and attraction, she talked about amendments and changes to 14 additional units on previously R1 zoned infill lands, and she talked about housing and assessments that were being done. She informed the committee about approved community improvement plan, otherwise known as CIP applications, which affected Kids Play and Hanover Aerials Gymnastics Club. And there have been 4 downtown projects with improved facades. She talked about the startups and the efforts focused on the HIP Apprentice Retention and Attraction campaign. She mentioned the Trades Are Cool videos that were produced that we've heard about this year, from Making Headlines Hair Studio and Men's Lounge to Montgomery Industrial Services and promoting careers in skilled trades. She talked about the HIP Entrepreneurial Business Pitch Competition that was launched, raising over $11,000 from our generous sponsors, with 8 applications being received and 1 winner and 2 finalists. Under Priority 2, demographics, Grey Bruce Local Immigration Partnership Settling in Grey Bruce Region Welcome Package for Hanover is now available on the town's website. It's at the municipal office and can also be found at the library. A new resident welcome event was held on June the 8th. And in the fall of 2025, the official launch of the Newcomer Resource Hub at the library will take place in coordination with GBLIP and Welcome Week. Additionally, an update on youth retention efforts was outlined in the strat plan shared during that special budget meeting. And committee members brought forward and discussed concerns about council's decision not to finance Launchpad. The committee then decided to ask the chair to form a letter on behalf of the committee, and it's in council's package tonight. For Priority 3, business engagement, the Event Development Fund enhanced downtown activation by supporting the growth of the Eat Well Farmers Market. We had yoga in the square on Mondays. The Saugeen Artists Quick Guild Quick Paint event, I think I added a quick there, was held, and it was very wonderful. I enjoyed that. There were attractions at the Hanover Fair that was partnered with our committee. And April has talked about the EV Level 3 charging station at Heritage Square that we look forward to. Saugeen Connects with 50 area youth was launched. We had 46 businesses with the Saugeen Summer Student Startup Program, and 13 of those were from Hanover. Under Priority 4, which culture, efforts were made to advance the cultural plan recommendations aimed at enhancing tourism. And these included the Saugeen Culture Bus Tour. She talked about the Driftscape app, which is promoting tourism and enhancing visitor experiences. And we had a cultural symposium held at the Hanover Civic Theater. Under Priority 5, tourism, the wayfinding strategy was implemented to showcase the town's assets and attractions. There was a joint summer radio campaign launched in partnership with the DIA and the Chamber of Commerce, with Hanover Raceway and with Playtime Casino, which promoted the town's entertainment in downtown districts. Looking ahead to 2025, budget priorities include developing a tourism plan, creating a welcoming community plan through regional partnerships, establishing a downtown revitalization plan with applicable partners, and conducting a business retention and expansion study. Additionally, the Hawks Nest Dragon's Den Inspired event will be hosted at the Hanover Civic Theater this year. And that's all for the Economic Development, etc. Committee. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Are there any questions, discussion? Seeing none, if you'd like to continue on with 11.1.1.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Heritage Subcommittee met on November the 28th of 24. Just a couple of items in here. There were 2 donations, a Sports Fest 1987 summary and winners list by our very own Sherry Walden, and a photo from Hanover High School from 1951 from Lori Statlander. Under discussion, they mentioned the building recognition signs. The action plan is for the committee to brainstorm additional buildings to target in 2025. October 26th, the cultural bus tour. The members were thanked for their participation. I know specifically they helped out with the cemetery tour under the guidance of Al Morrow, of course. The clock tower cleaning discussion is still happening. They're still looking for somebody to help on that. Volunteer recruitment, the committee reviewed the proposed social media post and asked for it to be revised to include friends of the committee. And I think that's all for the Heritage Committee.
Thank you. Sherry, you have a comment?
Just a couple of things, just the clock tower cleaning, just to provide some clarification and perhaps our listening public that's out there. This is specifically for the clock works, so the guts of the clock, you might say. It's not the building, it's not the interior, it's really the guts or mechanisms of the clock. So they have had a lead that I know they've reached out to again, but at this time they don't have a confirmed person. It's a bit of a niche kind of type of work, and there aren't many functional or working clocks of that nature in area communities. We know of a few, and they've reached out to those individuals. So specifically, that's what that clock cleaning refers to. And I just also want to clarify that the Sports Fest 1987 summary and winners, while it was donated by me, it really wasn't me. It was the Lake Huron Zone Recreationists Association, which I'm not the dinosaur of that group, but I kind of am. It doesn't really exist much anymore, but I'm the keeper of that information at this point in time. And as I was going through some info, I found the 1987 report from Hanover when we had it. And in fact, that Sports Fest, the money raised during that event went to the Regional Aquatic Center fundraising. So there was some interesting names, A, committee members and B, winners. So while it says my name, it really came from the Lake Huron Zone Recreationists Association.
Any other comments or discussion? Okay, one more, Councillor Sacco.
Thank you for your additional remarks. So there's a little bit of, well, first of all, I'll begin by saying the Cultural Roundtable minutes are from December the 4th, 2024. And there's a little bit of repeat under the Joint Cultural Roundtable Initiative updates about the bus tour and the Event Development Fund. So I'm going to move on to just the roundtable member updates. Brandon Dobson talked about the 25 events for Family Day especially, but there'll be events happening Earth Day and Canada Day. And they're looking at an opportunity to support the Earth Day art contest. Pat Butler talked about culture events in the Senior Star newsletter. Ruth Lennon mentioned that the library's been busy, talked about the book sale being the most successful. The murder mystery on November 22nd at the Curling Club, which was also very successful. Stephen Ferguson mentioned about the Sound of Music production and how wonderful it went. And Bev Morgan mentioned the Christmas store that I hope some of you were able to go to during the Christmas season. And the Guild is also planning the Plein Air Painting Festival. It looks like they're doing it every other year. So you'll certainly want to perhaps be a volunteer with that group or certainly to participate in the event. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Thank you. Any comments or Councillor Hudson?
I just had a question regarding the community art outreach event. I'm not familiar with what that is. 5.5, a booth at St. Matthew's Church every Wednesday afternoon for a free community art outreach event. Maybe
April, good. I know a little bit about it, but not much.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is an open door or open house or open doors event that the Saugeen Artists Guild hold. So anyone can come and drop in and learn more about the Guild and participate in some art activities and things like that. So it's just a way for them to engage the community and build outreach.
And how long has this been going on? A while? Oh, I'm the only one that doesn't know about this then. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, so I don't see any other hands raised. So it's been moved by Councillor Hudson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Dickert. We are receiving the information and approving the recommendations contained in the minutes that were just highlighted. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, moving on to bylaws. So we have 3 bylaws and I need a mover and seconder before I ask the clerk for the intent. Councillor Fleet and Councillor Cable. So Vicky, the intent, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw 3323-25 is a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the December 16th, 2024 special council meeting and regular council meeting. Bylaw 3324-25 is a bylaw to provide for the interim tax levies for the year 2025 for the town of Hanover. And bylaw 3325-25 is a bylaw to appoint a deputy fire chief.
It has been moved by Councillor Fleet and seconded by Councillor Cable that bylaw numbers 3323-25 through to 3325-25 be introduced and that they be taken as read a first, second, and third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and inserted in the bylaw book. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Item 13, we do not have any correspondence requiring action, so we're moving on to item 14. Reports and correspondence, these are for information. The first one, 14.1, is report FI 0125. The subject is the fourth quarter activity report, and it's from our fire chief, Chief Deniger. Chief?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, Your Worship. So as stated, this is report FI 0125. It's a review of our fourth quarter activities from October to December of 2024. As you can see from the report, in the fourth quarter, we attended 78 calls in total, first being medical, second being false fire calls, and third being rescues. Our annual calls to date included 256 total. Number 1 was medicals, number 2 was false fire calls, and number 3 was other. Also in the fourth quarter, we attended 12 inspections, 5 reports were issued, 1 continues to be in progress. We completed 75 alarm for life inspections or visits. Total homes entered was 57 with a compliance rate of 50.8%. Public education, we attended 14 activities in total. Participants were estimated at close to 2,000, and we had 50 hours included. There are no financial implications for this report, and the link to the strategic plan is open and responsible government. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Chief Denninger. My question is about the number of medical calls. It looks like about 35% of them are 35% of the calls that the fire department responds to are for medical reasons. And I just wondered, what is that impact on our fire budget? And is there any reimbursement for those calls through any other provincial body that, it's obviously offsetting some costs for some other areas. So I'm wondering if there's any opportunity for us in that area.
Thank you for the question through you, Your Worship. I would say the impact to the budget is less than 5%. There's limited equipment that is required for medicals, and it's really just staff time. We not only limit the number of people that respond to medicals, but we have a very small medical team. So on the weekend, only 3 of them are paged. We don't get the whole department here, and we only send 3 per truck. So unlike other calls where we have tons of equipment and large trucks, we can send a pickup with limited equipment, limited staff. As far as billing, not to my knowledge, there's no other department that does any billing for medicals. We work with the paramedics, so certainly not replacing the paramedics. Whoever gets there first starts working. With the new regulations, it does seem to take both services to do an effective job for those medical calls.
All right, any other comments or questions? Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Chief, for the report. Your new office looks very nice in the background. It's great to see the number of fire inspections and alarm for life inspections, and public education has increased significantly in the last quarter, so that's fantastic. I'm just wondering about the alarm for life inspections and what constitutes an inspection being compliant. I know that it looks like our compliance rate is increasing, which is great, but just wondering what does a home need to have in order to pass that inspection?
Thank you for the question. Through you, Your Worship, basically carbon monoxide and smoke alarms that work on every level of the home. Many times we will go into the home and they won't be working, whether it's a power supply that's been disconnected or dead, or also the alarm may be beyond its life. So smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms, they all have a lifespan, and many people don't realize that the alarm has extended beyond that lifespan and therefore has to be replaced. So we're having some success with people understanding to check their alarms, but again, getting out and doing those visits and checking on them really helps us to make sure that it's being done.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Councillor Sackel.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks for your report, Jeff. I just want to say I'm one of those families that we've never had anybody in, and I decided that we needed to do that. And I was really glad that Rob came by, and I think we met compliance, but he did give us some recommendations of things we hadn't thought of doing in terms of our garage. So thank you very much.
Very good. Okay, thanks, Chief. We'll move on. 14.2 is report CAO 0125. The subject is the strategic plan, which is from 2023 to 2027. This is the progress update, and it's from Sherry Walden, our CAO. Sherry.
Thank you, Your Worship. And while the report is from me, it certainly takes the team to bring forth the progress tracker, excuse me, and the updates that are provided. So just a brief background: on August 14th, 2023, Council approved our 2023 to 2027 strategic plan with 56 actions within the 5 goal statements. At the July 15th, 2024 meeting, you received a progress update at that time. And from a financial perspective, both the 2024 and 2025 budgets include various approved amounts for either in operations or capital to support our strategic initiatives. The progress tracker, which is attached to this report, provides you with an update as of January 7th, which was just last week, pretty much to year end 2024. So you will see that 48 of the actions have been initiated and are in various stages of progress or completed. That's 86% of those 56 actions. And we've completed 9 of them, or 16% of the actions. Some of the highlights from our last update in July are as follows. Again, organizational review has been completed and approved by Council, and implementation of phase 1 recommendations has begun. Our new fire hall is completed, and our fire and rescue team relocated and began responding from the new station in early December 2024. The direction to build a new police station was approved by Council, as well as the project charter, and the committee has held their initial meeting. The Hanover Innovative People Program retention and attraction campaigns, apprentice videos, which you've heard about in the update in the Economic Culture Tourism Development Advisory Committee minutes, as well as summer radio campaign, updated attractions publication have been implemented, as well as our entrepreneur pitch program. Those are again some of the highlights. There are a number of other ones that are included in the report that our residents can reference through the agenda. From an in-progress standpoint, you know that splash pad construction will commence in 2025 with the award of the RFP to complete the work approved in December 2024. Our capital assets update and development charges process initiated in mid-2024 continues, and we look forward to that wrapping up in 2025 as well. The new water tower tender has been released, and we will look forward to construction commencing this year. The wastewater treatment plant expansion investigative work continues with the environmental assessment work in process and consultations with Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority ongoing. Our growing prosperity and South Gray discussions are also ongoing. For Q1 2025, our management team is going to be discussing environmental related responsibilities, and the discussion will be confirming an option to include environmental initiative discussions within existing council committees versus establishing a separate committee accordingly. As you can see by the list in the report, there's a number of staff and a number of committees that deal with environmental related initiatives. And then the newcomer initiatives were also highlighted in the economic culture and tourism minutes. So I'm not going to talk about that, but we look forward to those items being launched in 2025 with the newcomer resource hub at the library. I think I dubbed the strategic plan as aggressive, given that we had 56 actions to implement between 2023 and 2027. So it's a really great report when we can bring forward to you and to our public and indicate that 86% of those have been initiated and are at various stages and 16% have been completed. And that's certainly a testament to council and staff commitment to moving our strategic priorities forward. There's no financial implications with this report. Any strategic plan actions, as I mentioned, are only moved forward if we have approved capital and operations budgets accordingly. So I would be happy to answer any questions or clarifications that council may have.
Council discussion, Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you, Sherry, for the update. I think the progress tracking tool continues to be a great visual for us to see how the strategic plan is being implemented, and a good reminder for council of what has been completed in this term. So certainly thank you to all the staff involved in making that possible. I was really pleased to see the note about the management team exploring how environmentally focused initiatives could be included within existing committees. Having committees with a particular area of focus, considering environmental related policies and actions related to that particular area certainly makes sense. And so I look forward to seeing how that unfolds in your discussions in early 2025. I was a bit concerned to see that the physician recruitment committee did not meet in 2024. And I was wondering if the town has been provided a reason for this and when we expect meetings to resume.
I forgot to turn my mic off. Sorry, Tanya, you didn't remind me either. She wasn't waving at me, sorry. And sorry, Mayor Sue, I can answer that question if you'd like. So I did correspond with Mark Rogan and just before budget, and unfortunately I don't have that email just at my fingertips to reply, but the chairperson for that committee is no longer with the foundation, is my understanding, and unfortunately there was no actions to resume that. As you are aware, council approved an amount in 2025 budget for the foundation with respect to a number of their initiatives. I will be communicating with the foundation this week in regards to the information that they need to provide to us for a consideration of providing those funds. One will be a delegation, two will be the information that they provided for council's review. So it might be a good question during that delegation to ask about those committee meetings. And, you know, council may want to consider that those funds maybe are attached to that committee resuming their work as well as a suggestion.
Thank you very much for following up on that. And certainly, I think if we need a letter to come from council requesting that committee was to resume, certainly I would be in favor of that as well.
Okay, Councillor Hocking.
Thank you, Your Worship. An excellent summary, Sherry. I have a question with regard to goal 3, and it has to do with the language. It's strong and vibrant economy, and it has to deal with the launch pad. It says that the goal is to strengthen the launch pad youth skills and technology center by establishing a defined town role, and it goes on and on. And I'd just like to have a comment to say exactly what happened in the Council 2025 budget. It says here to reconsider allocation of financial contribution. We did consider allocation, and the allocation was there would be no funding for the launch pad for 2025, which has resulted in other things happening. So I just want you to state that rather than sort of blanket it with with the wording you have, if that's okay. Do you have a?
Sure, I can restate that. I think my intent with the wording, Councillor Hawking, was that council's direction through the budget process was that we reconsidered how those funds were allocated of that financial contribution. So I hear what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying. My intent, and I don't mind rewording that if you prefer, is just that council's direction was that the financial amount that was originally proposed to be allocated to Launchpad for operations has been reconsidered with the allocation, and that is to go towards the loan and the offsetting of any deficits. So that was really the intent behind that. I certainly don't mind adding some language that would provide further clarity, but that's to provide the verbal context. That's the intent of the wording that's currently included.
Thank you, because once you've explained it, now I understand where the reallocate, what you meant by that, but it didn't state that. So I just thought it was, if you could just say, stop funding the operations and carry on with the reallocation, that would be fine, because that's exactly what happened. Thank you.
Okay. Other comments or questions? All right, very good. We'll move on. 14.3 is the report CAO 0325. The subject is the November 2024 precautionary boil water advisory follow-up, and it's from Sherry Walden, our CAO, and Ron Cooper, Director of Public Works. Sherry.
Thank you, Your Worship. So again, while this has mine and Ron's name on it, there's been a number of staff throughout since mid-November that have provided input to this process. So you are well aware that we issued a precautionary boil water advisory on Wednesday, November 6th, and that was due to an adverse water test result at the water treatment plant. Applicable communications, processes, and reporting occurred, and I'm just going to call it boil water advisory rather than saying precautionary every time. So just to preface that, that the boil water advisory was lifted on Friday, November 8th, following accredited lab-raised sampling test results confirming the water met the Ministry of Health regulated requirements. At the November 18th council meeting, Deputy Mayor Dickard asked if there would be a follow-up report brought forward to future council regarding the incident that we talked about, that we are discussing this evening. So in preparation for the report, you know, I certainly referenced a number of our water quality reports and plans that we have in place. You know, I would certainly encourage council, if you haven't done so lately, you can source a number of these on our website. So the first being our council approved drinking water quality management system, or the DWQMS operation plan, and the quality management system, the QMS, and the commitment of the owner and the top management accordingly. So you as council are the owner. And our DWQMS and our QMS state that council is committed to provide the resources for the implementation, maintenance, and continual improvement of a quality management system. I'm not going to go over these in detail. They are outlined in the report, but just to highlight a couple of them is that your commitment is to that establishment, implementation, maintain, continually improve the drinking water quality management system for the water system in the town of Hanover, and to provide safe, high-quality water to the consumer, And 3, comply with all applicable legislation and regulations. And there's a few others too. Again, I'm not indicating all of them. Top management is committed to. So top management is myself and Ron. We're committed to ensuring that a quality management system is in place and that it meets the requirement of the standard, and that the operating authority is aware of all applicable legislation and regulatory requirements through the quality management system representative. We're also, our role is to determine, obtain, and provide resources needed to maintain and continually improve the QMS through the budget and through the review procedure. So the following is provided for council's information with consideration of your governance role with respect to the responsibility for water quality management. So the objective of the information provided this evening is to provide you with some refresher training, if I can call it that, with respect to your role, as well as offer a high-level overview of our boil water incident, as well as our debrief learnings. It's also an opportunity for us to be open and transparent with respect to the boil water advisory for our residents' information. So council role and responsibility. I pulled out my workbook, my participant workbook, and my Appendix A for the responsibilities under the Statutory Standard of Care Safe Drinking Water Act. I believe any of our councillors who were elected this last term took this course through the Clean Water Center in Walkerton at the beginning of your term. And I'm thinking that our re-elected councillors would have done it at your 2018 to 2022 term. So, you know, it's a great course. I have my notes that I refer to often, as you can see. And I would encourage council that if you feel you need a refresher, that might be an opportunity for some education retraining for you for this year. So again, not in detail and certainly not all elements of that training, but a few of the items I pulled out of this that I feel are important, especially in this circumstance, as you are a member of council to ensure our community has access to safe, high quality of drinking water and your legal obligations to do so as per the Safe Drinking Water Act. Here's a few things that you do and what your key responsibilities are. So you set overall policy. As a council, you endorse the quality management system policy that includes context such as, but not limited to, the description of the organizational structures, the process for ongoing risk management, annual review, procedures for sharing, sampling, testing, and monitoring results, et cetera, et cetera. There's a number of them. You plan for our drinking water system. Council considers the financial planning and prioritizing of our water assets infrastructure and their upgrade, replacement, and expansion during the budget process. The sustainable financial planning for drinking water system. You approve our water rates annually with consideration for the long-term financial plan for our water system. This also includes approval of annual budgets that detail the maintenance for our treatment plant, our staff training, and other required costs to ensure our professional staff are certified and our water system is maintained. There's also the source water protection piece plan. And while we don't have, I don't want to say we don't have a direct role, but that is handled with another agency, the Source Water Protection Committee. You do support a regional appointee to the Source Water Protection Committee, and you remain abreast of their work by receiving their minutes. So again, that's just, oh, sorry, one last one I will share is the regular reports. And you receive quarterly and annual reports with respect to our water system to ensure that you are informed. For our residents, the information available to our Hanover water system consumers, and when I say, I should say consumers versus residents, because some of them aren't necessarily residents, they might be industrial or commercial. Our town website provides a wealth of information, and that's specific to our drinking water quality system policy, our drinking water quality management standard operational plan, and our annual water quality report. They're all available in our water and sewer services area, which is under the resident services section of our website. In addition, our monthly water bills give notice when the DWQMS and the annual water quality reports are available for review, and that typically is in the Q3 of each year. As well, the weekly accredited lab results are available for viewing from the municipal office upon review, or request, I should say. So a recap of our precautionary boil water advisory, which occurred between Wednesday, November 6th to Friday, November 8th, 2024. As you know, water treatment staff received notification from our accredited lab that an adverse test result from our weekly water test had been determined. And just to give our listening public and council some background, our water sampling and microbiology, I always stumble over that word, that microbiology testing at an accredited lab is completed weekly. Daily, our certified water treatment operators complete the additional testing and record keeping. Staff at that time immediately implemented the required reporting to the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks, as well as the Grey Bruce Public Health. Additionally, they took water resampling and it was completed and it was expedited to the lab. One of my learnings through this process is that water samplers undergo microbiologically testing by the lab after 24 hours of receipt of the samples at the lab. So while those results were sent out on Wednesday afternoon, they were couriered to the lab. They were received on Thursday morning. They have to sit for 24 hours at the time of receipt before they can be tested. So just to give some context to the amount of time that has to lapse for this process. Through discussions on Wednesday afternoon with agency representatives, it was advised that a precautionary boil water advisory would be a proactive safety measure out of an abundance of caution. At 6 p.m. on Wednesday, November 6th, the town issued such notice to our residents and consumers using the water provided by the Town of Hanover water system. In addition, direct phone communication occurred with all of our recorded critical contacts, such as hospitals, schools, older adult care facilities, and large commercial and industrial water users. While this was not a medical officer of health ordered boil water advisory or an ordered precautionary boil water advisory, we implemented a number of the steps which are included in the town's approved emergency plan accordingly for a boil water advisory. On November 7th, staff fielded and responded to inquiries from public and media by phone, email, customer service portal, and in-person office visits. 2 updates were provided via our website, social media, and distributed to our local media. On November 8th, after receiving the resampling results that met the Ministry of Health standards, followed by communication and confirmation from public health representatives, our precautionary boil water advisory was lifted, and communication occurred directly with our critical contacts, our public and other businesses who had made direct contact with staff. They received a personal phone call from Ron or I, and followed up by email. It's really important that council is aware, as well as our residents, that it was not until we received the resample result that the town could confidently state that, as determined by our proactive assessment and analysis, the initial adverse result that prompted the precautionary boil water advisory was due to an inaccuracy with sampling process. So what is an inaccuracy with a sampling process? In conversation with our chief operator, who has been in this business for a long time, he said to me, Sherry, adverse test results due to an inaccuracy with a sampling process can and do occur. The contributing factors to that include, but are not limited to, lab error, bad sample bottle, mishandling of the sample bottle, and inaccuracy with sample bottle processing. What has happened since the precautionary boil water advisory? Following a situation of this nature, our staff complete a debrief. The key objectives of that debrief is to review the situation. What did we do? How did we do it? What did we do well? And what can we improve upon? And we make recommendations for implementation consideration. This debrief was a little bit different than a prior debrief that's been conducted with staff, in that it included a number of different a number of different debriefs, if I can call it that. Our water treatment staff completed their own debrief. We've had a communications debrief. Mayor Sue and I still have to do our debrief somewhat, although we've had a number of conversations about that. And then we take all of that input and we put it into an implementation plan so that we can be better, should, hopefully never, have another one of these situations, or there could be other situations in the town that we can use that learning from. So some high-level examples of the suggestions are included in the report, and I'm only going to note a couple of them. The water sampling process standard operating guideline was revised, and staff training to review the revisions will be implemented. We've discussed a lot on communications because you can understand that was a tough 48 hours from a communications standpoint. We talked about how we could have in that initial notice put additional information to perhaps decrease the level of anxiousness that was caused in the community with words such as, this is not an emergency, and out of an abundance of caution. My name was at the bottom of that initial notice, more for media inquiries, but you can appreciate everybody was calling Sherry Walden because my name was at the bottom of it. And unfortunately on Thursday morning, I didn't have a lot of time to get back to everyone. I did make sure that anybody who left me a message before I left here on that day, they had an email or a phone call back. So we had talk about how do we handle public inquiries versus media inquiries. We need to make sure that our communications lists are updated on an annual basis, but ideally twice a year. It's 6 o'clock on a Wednesday night. We don't have many principals of schools and their home phone numbers. So we need after hours contacts, and we identified that. We identified the need to create a secondary contact list, such as grocery stores and restaurants. Perhaps on Thursday morning, we could have assigned staff to contact our grocery stores and just say, hey, this, is there any assistance you can provide us, that type of thing. Also, we're investigating if there's a subscription option for our residents to subscribe to receiving information by email through our website. Proactive messaging on an annual basis and information available on our website, such as this is how your water is tested video. It just would allow some education to our residents about some of the information that I've included in here. That talks about how do we test our water? What does our water testing look like? What does it go through on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, those types of things. I would say those proactive things, one of the conversations we've had as a staff team is that the proactive messaging is great, but until we have that organizational review communications person, we don't have a lot of time for some of that proactive messaging. Sorry, I just gotta make sure I'm on the right page here. Again, a number of other debrief learnings that are included in the report, but those are some highlights that I would share with council and our listening public this evening. From a other perspective, I felt it was important to, we felt it was important to acknowledge that we understand that the precautionary boil water advisory caused concern in our community, and our residents can be assured that the safety of their water and them and their families is first and foremost. One of my aha moments on Thursday morning was during a conversation with public health staff, and they said, Sherry, the systems worked. Some of the learnings from some other communities is that what has been implemented from those learnings has helped you to issue this precautionary boil water advisory in the timely manner that you did. So the established water treatment systems work, and that was critical to being able to proactively implement the initial advisory. I want to state that our staff are competent, they're certified, they're knowledgeable, and they're professional. Our certified water operators were key to expediting the resampling process and communication with required agencies. Management staff were swift to move to action with implementing the precautionary boil water advisory, and I have a typo there I noticed. Multiple staff responded positively and empathetically to the many inquiries received, and various staff were instrumental in the clear communications distributed. I noted previously, but I will state again, it was a challenging time, and yet our team collectively demonstrated leadership, empathy, problem-solving, decision-making, professionalism, and dedication. It takes a village, and the town of Hanover is fortunate to have a village of competent, committed, and knowledgeable staff working on behalf of our residents and businesses, and this was paramount during this circumstance. I'd be happy, or Ron, to answer any questions or clarifications that you may have.
Thanks, Sherry. Councillor Sacco.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Sherry, for your report. It was certainly very detailed. Lots of good information there for residents, good information for us as well. We're the ones walking around in the community that we all had lots of questions from people I know, even at the swimming pool. Is it okay to go in the pool? You know, those kinds of comments. I was teaching in Walkerton during the Walkerton water crisis, and believe you me, I'll never forget that part of my life. I never imagined having to teach grade 12 English in the basement of the Knights of Columbus Hall because I couldn't teach in my classroom. So it was a difficult time. And so I'm so grateful that you handled things the way that you did. It was a good learning experience for all of us to go through. And we didn't have anybody pass away or get sick or anything that we did back in Walkerton. So I'm grateful. And I hope that our community, and you've already said it yourself, that the steps are in place and they worked. So thank you to the people who had to answer the phone on staff, for Ron and for Ted and yourself and everybody here that had to deal with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Other comments? Discussion? Councillor Hawking.
I, like Councillor Sacco, was involved with the Walkerton water crisis. In my role at JDSS, we had to double shift our school to accommodate students from Walkerton. And watching those students walk through our institution and the impact that water crisis had on the entire community has remained with me over the years. I thought our staff did an outstanding job. I think that your communication plan worked. And as a result of the Walkerton crisis, a lot has happened and procedures are a lot better. So Sherry, on behalf of the community, please offer my thanks to you, your staff, and everyone involved to make this as easy as possible. It was a tough 2 days, and I too had questions based on my previous experience, and good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Any Deputy Mayor Dickert?
Yeah, I just echo those sentiments. I do think staff did a great job. I thank you for this follow-up report. You know, when things go wrong and when you learn from them, that's what better outcome can you ask for? That you know, we have a better plan going forward, and it looks like you've captured those opportunities, and I thank you for that. And well done.
Okay, I don't see any other hands, so we'll move on. Item 14.4 is the Hanover Police Service Board meeting minutes from December 16th. I only have 2 items to highlight. One of them, you'll see on the second page, in response to the town's request that the board commit $500,000 from reserves toward a new police station, the board decided to allocate $700,000 to the project. So thankful to the board that they agreed, and we have a good working relationship between the board and town council, and pleased that that's going to happen, and your loan will be less, right?
Not my loan, the town's loan.
I just noticed, Chris, every time somebody mentions money, you look around. You're the keeper of the dollars, put it that way. The other thing I want to highlight is the police services advisor, Dwayne Sprague, is retiring. He has spent 30 years in the police service, and he was the Zone 5 police advisor. Excellent. He helped us out many times when we had questions, and he did training. And Hank Zaire from the St. Thomas Police Service, most recently as an inspector, will be our new police service advisor. And we did get to meet both of them, so that was nice to put a name to the face, or is it a face to the name? Okay, we got it. I got it. Any questions with those minutes? Okay, moving on, thank you. Item 14.5, the Saugeen Municipal Airport Commission meeting minutes. Councillor Hawking.
Thank you, Your Worship. I know the minutes don't state this, but we've had an excellent year, and hopefully are going to show a good surplus for 2024. I'd just like to highlight the first statement under budget update. This has to do with our funding agreement with the 3 municipalities. And unfortunately, the last 2 years, West Grey and Town of Hanover have contributed to a municipal increase. But our neighbors to the west, Brockton, has not. So consequently, when one partner doesn't follow through, the other two have to follow suit. So we've been on the same budget since 2022. Hopefully that will change this year. I took it upon myself to make a personal presentation to Brockton Council on December the 10th. I'm glad I did it. I was well received, and they are going to make their decision shortly in January. As you know, Town of Hanover and the Town of West Grey agreed to increase the suggested amount. Airport managers report. I just want to highlight, and I'm sure you know this, that we strongly encourage preventative maintenance approach to our airport, and as a result, we have runways that are in an excellent condition. We spend capital money again on crack safety or sealing this year, and it's working well. Tim provided sort of an update for you for the amount of traffic coming to the airport, and you could see the ratios, and our airport continues to increase in volume as a result of his good work and the positive influence that the airport now has regained within the community. I think that highlights it, and I'll answer any questions. Thank you.
Very good. Any comments or questions for Councillor Hawking? Okay. Item 14.6 is the downtown improvement area minutes. Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Your Worship. Hanover DIA, this goes back October 17th. There's a lot on here that's come and gone. We had 2 guests, Tammy Boss from the Red Hot Eatery and Amanda Harris from Artie's Music Studio. I'll just go over some of the other business, the pumpkin carving contest, trick or trail, 2024 Christmas holiday shot win, lighting in the square. It's all come and gone, and with great success. So that's all I have to report from the DIA. If there's any questions.
Thank you. I don't see any hands raised. So item 14.7, this is a letter addressed to this council from the Economic, Tourism and Cultural Development Advisory Committee, and each member is listed on this letter. And it says, on behalf of the Economic, Tourism and Cultural Development Advisory Committee, we are writing to you regarding the recent change in support for Launchpad. In the town's strategic plan, one of our strategic priorities was to strengthen Launchpad Skills Training and Technology Center. This strategic priority was established first in the Town of Hanover strategic plan and subsequently adopted into the Economic, Tourism, and Cultural Development Advisory Committee plan. The committee felt the town was getting a return on investment by having a positive impact on the young people in our community and our future residents. This committee is looking for direction on where and how council is looking to support youth of our town moving forward. So I'm open to suggestions. I know we need to respond to this, but if you have anything you would like to share, any ideas? I do think we need more of a discussion than a few minutes sitting here at this table. We need to brainstorm some ideas to see what we're going to do to support youth in our community. So maybe that could be the response to this committee, that we will look into it and investigate how we move forward, because I took a quick look at our strategic plan and there is nothing else in that plan that refers to supporting youth. So we may need to add another goal somewhere in the plan. Open to suggestions. Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think that'd be a great opportunity for council to really consider what is currently being offered within the town of Hanover to support youth, and then to look if there's any particular gaps that might exist. So I look forward to us having that discussion.
Okay. So we'll start with a response to the committee saying that we're going to investigate and move forward. And then we'll see what we come up with. So, okay, item 14.8. This is a letter from us, as in the three mayors, the municipality of West Gray, the city of Owen Sound, and the town of Hanover. And of course, I'm speaking on behalf of council. So it is to Rick Byers, our MPP, and stating that the request for, we need equitable funding for municipal policing, and asking the Ontario government to provide financial relief to all municipalities, regardless of whether they are policed by the OPP or local police services. The second letter, 14.9, is to the president of AMO, Robin Jones. AMO is the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. The letter is similar, asking for AMO to advocate for immediate province-wide funding that provides relief to all municipalities regardless of policing arrangements. 14.10 is a response from AMO, and in my opinion, it was not a favorable response, stating that there was support for the OPP because the contract was negotiated. But I think there's a misunderstanding that all police, whether you're municipal or OPP, whatever contract, whatever agreement you have, affects both. So if the OPP have raises and increases, that just flows through to municipal and vice versa. So that will be hopefully changed, whether we can meet somewhere at Roma with them or at AMO. So, but that wasn't the nicest letter to receive. 14.11 is also on the same topic, equity and funding to assist in managing increasing costs of policing. And this is from Smith Falls, saying that municipalities with local municipal police services continue to see significant cost increases and budgetary pressures in municipal policing, which are directly impacted by the OPP policing labor costs. So I'm sure there'll be more to follow. Item 14.12 is a letter from BDO stating that BDO and MNP have reached an agreement for MNP to acquire a select number of BDO's Canadian offices, and they want to assure us that the team will be the same and they will continue to serve our needs with the same exceptional service. And interesting, I just saw an ad, a commercial on TV for MNP, and I knew what it was after reading the package. So that's just for information. Item 14.13, this is the Grey County Council and Committee of the Whole highlights, and Deputy Mayor Dickert is going to highlight those.
Thank you, Your Worship. On our December 12th meeting, Council received an update on the Rockwood Terrace project. It is moving ahead well, and at that point in time, there was no anticipated budget challenges, which is always nice to hear. I haven't had the chance to drive by recently, but apparently foundations are in, walls are going up, and lots of action over there. So good to see that taking place. In the Committee of the Whole, we heard a delegation from Hugh Simpson with the University of Guelph regarding concerns with private wells and groundwater supplies in Grey and Bruce County, and the term karst aquifers and the high potential for contamination in those landscape types. He's promoting the raising awareness and education about private wells and best management practices. We reviewed the 2025 appointments to the different committees at the county table. It was moved that the terms of reference for the Urban Roads Exchange Committee to be adjusted so that all 9 lower tier municipalities would have representation on that committee. And there was more to come on that in our next meeting, but Mayor Patterson will have the opportunity to speak to that next time. In the consent agenda, Council supported that staff be directed to include $100,000 from one-time funding for transit to enable an application for grant funding to investigate the feasibility of a regional door-to-door transit service. The goal would be to see the collaboration of all transit services across the region working together to serve the entire area. A lot of work to pull that off, but at least there's some steps in place to start that process. Those are my updates, and pleased to take any questions if there are.
Thank you. Are there any comments, discussion? Seeing none. Item 15 is our good news and celebration. And Deputy Mayor Dickert, I'm going to start with you and open it up.
I will pass and let whoever wants to share some good news carry on.
Very good. Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of things. It's great to see that outdoor rink up and going. I was by twice in the weekend. There had to be 25 to 50 families there, young kids skating. It was so good to see today. Snow day, it was busy again. I just want to thank all our volunteers and staff. You know, without this community, without volunteers, it doesn't matter if it's an outdoor rink or what, an event or a homecoming or whatever. You know, you need your volunteers, and just thank you. And I went family skating with Alex Ruff. Thank Alex for supporting the ice time, and I want to thank all ice sponsors that sponsor the free skates. So, and also congratulations to Hanover Barons for hosting the All-Star game, which was a great game, and our own Hanover Baron Ryan Cahoon scored the winning goal in overtime.
Yes. When you speak of outdoor recreation and stuff, I just want to say the Legion Park behind my house, I have to look through the bedroom to see into the park. But all weekend, there had to be at least 8 kids on that hill. It's not a very big hill, but boy, they were having fun. And somebody brought a shovel and made a little hill so that they come down the hill and have a little bump. And they even dug out the spinner. So now it goes around. This is the summer equipment. So now they can do that in the summer, in the winter time too. And they were on the swings, so still having fun. Chris, don't listen. So it's just plain fun. They're having fun. Okay, Exactly. Anyone, Counselor Sackel, then Counselor Cable.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, this is my first opportunity to say Happy New Year. Happy New Year to my colleagues and to staff and to all the residents here in the town of Hanover. I was going to talk about the rink too and the volunteers. I'm really happy to see that the outdoor rink is finally open. And I'm glad to see that lots of people are using it. And I want to give a shout out to the Red House Eatery Charlie Brown Christmas decorations. Every time I drive by, it just makes me smile. So thank you.
Counselor Cable.
Thank you, Your Worship. I wanted to provide a follow-up to my note in December to let council and our residents know that the Hanover Bentinck and Brant Agricultural Society has awarded their construction contract for a community hall and office renovations to Dom Construction. Demolition has started as of earlier this week, and it is anticipated that the new administration offices will be ready for race season with the new banquet facility opening later this fall.
Very good. Anyone else? Oh, yes, staff. No, go ahead, Sherry.
Just with the outdoor rink, I just want to note, and again, it's more for education for our residents, and I agree the volunteers are really crucial. We were very close to having the outdoor rink open prior to Christmas. But unfortunately, I will share that individuals did not abide by the posted closed notice and caused some damage to the rink as it was established, as well as the liner. So this is just a friendly reminder to our residents, when the rink is posted as closed, it is so that our volunteers can do the proper maintenance to make sure that the rink is safe for you to use. And so please abide by that, because it will either mean that we can continue the rink longer as a result. So if everybody follows the posted signage and follow the rules, hopefully if Mother Nature cooperates, we will have a long outdoor rink season. And then recycling, I don't know if Ron was going to note anything or not, and I see that he's maybe not. So I will just note, we have had 2 weeks of our recycling transition to the producer responsibility. So again, for our residents, I know there was some frustrations this past week, and that's unfortunate that that's been the case. I want our residents to know that we are actively following up on that with our contact. It is now, we no longer directly contract the recycling company, so we have a process for communication that we follow, but our residents as well. There is a process and it's posted on our website, so you can contact Waste Management directly accordingly by phone or by email, and I would encourage you to do so. And we will work on our contact to make sure that our communications to our residents can be up to date when we get it. If you're seeing things posted, and I know today we just posted about a missed area from last Thursday, but unfortunately, again, we posted when we know the information. So yes, we hear our residents that there's some that were a little bit frustrated, and we will work on that with our provider or with our contact accordingly. Thanks.
So can you just go back to the rink and explain the hose?
You mean the one for flooding, or no? I'm kidding. So HOSE stands for Hockey on Odd Numbered Days of the Calendar, and skating for even numbered days. So I don't know what today, today's the 13th. So hockey would be allowed today. And in fact, if you're there and you're playing hockey, you can continue to play hockey. However, if I was there skating and I wasn't wanting to play hockey and I just wanted to skate around, I can do that if nobody else is there. But if somebody arrives to play hockey, then hockey would take the precedent, and vice versa on skating days. That's kind of how it's supposed to work. So it's a friendly way of doing it. We can't take credit for that. Owen Sound started that with their Good Cheer rink, and we've just copied it, so to speak. I don't think it's copyrighted, so we've just used it. So again, we encourage our residents to follow the signage and the rules for their safety.
Thank you. All right, so we're on to planning and other meetings. Oh, does any other staff have anything they want to share? No? Okay. We're on to planning and other meetings. Of course, all our meetings are listed on this agenda and our website. One change, the Police Service Board meeting is on January 27th rather than the 20th. I think a couple of the members could not make the 20th. So dates to remember and announcements. The next committee of the whole meeting is Monday, February 3rd at 4 p.m. The next regular council meeting is Tuesday, February 18th at 4 p.m. because Family Day is on the 17th. At this time, I'll ask if there's any notices of motion. Okay, we do have a closed meeting, and it's been recommended that the town of Hanover meet in closed session in order to discuss a personal matter about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees with respect to Launchpad, and to receive advice that this is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose regarding Saugeen Municipal Airport options. I need a mover and seconder to go into closed. Councillor Hawking and Councillor Cable. All in favor? That's carried. It's 6 o'clock. Do you want a 5-minute break or 10? 5? 5? Okay. 6:05, we'll be back.